Oh, there it is. There it is. What's up? What's up? I hope everyone's having a great, wonderful evening. I just wanted to make sure that I get things rocking and rolling. I know people are still logging in. And so, you know how it is. You know how it is. We get wrapped up, we get busy in life. So much is going on throughout the whole world, right? So having this moment, having this time for us to come together, right? And us to, you know, have conversations, right? So if you're out there right now, I hope you like and share this post and make sure that anyone that's out there that you know that may be interested or intrigued, people that may really want to discover their authentic self and really move their lives forward in some progressive way, right? This evening, it's going to be fun. We're going to be able to have a great conversation. I have the little banner here. Of course, I didn't start it, but it is basically it's going to be myself and Miss Dorothy Parker, Dr. Dorothy Parker. And we're going to be discussing and talking about what initially I'm calling it, spiritual independence, and what we look at spiritual independence and in the fact that there's things that I know that she specializes in, and that is this thing we call in deconstruction. And but we added another piece that you don't really hear talked about much within the American African community, which is decolonizing your mind. And this is coming to find out, I truly believe that deconstructing is not just with your religious belief systems. There's a lot that you have to deconstruct in your life. You have to become something or someone else, depending on where you want to go, what's calling you, depending on what you are feeling in your life, in terms of, especially when you think about life from a spiritual, in the spiritual context. I believe personally that spirituality is the number one thing. Spirit is the number one thing in any human's life, because it's something that it's a state that we believe that's consciousness, a state of consciousness, awareness, right? And what happens to us, what happens to our consciousness, what happens to our spirit. And we already know we've had lots of results. I mean, lots of people discuss near death experiences, right? People have discussed experiences, out of body experiences. We've had a lot of metaphysical kind of experiences where you can't really explain, but yet those things happen. Like, who's out there that you can raise your hand and say, yeah, something like is really, really happened with me? Like, that had to be something, right? That had to be God, or that had to be like some outside forces, right? Working and helping and assisting you in your daily life. And so you experiencing some level of some level of spiritual experience that you can say you can't explain it, right? Anyways, who's on right now? Looks like adding some people. People are coming on board. It's taking a little while, but that's okay. Mr. Christopher. Mr. Christopher is always the first one here, right? Always the first one here. I appreciate you. Blessings. Love you so much. Expand open conscious community. Miss Deidre, I love to see it. I love to see it. When people are logging in, Miss Winston, yes, thank you so much for your evening and enjoying this with the community. Hey, I got your text. That was so sweet. Thank you so much for that. So much for that. Do it again. I'm here. I am here, here. Miss Thana, how you doing? How your mama them? Uh, I hope you're doing well. I know that you are. Thank you. I appreciate you for your comments. And if you're out there, you're watching, right? One of the things is make sure that you go ahead and jump on YouTube or Facebook and, send a comment, right? Um, Send a comment. Miss Cat, hey, I hope you're doing all right. You guys are going to love this. I promise you. Well, I'm going to get this ball rolling. One of the things is you have to understand one thing, and you've heard people talk about this, but I want to at least kind of give a preface, so people can have kind of an idea of what we mean when we talk about this. This is a hot topic. If you ever get a chance and you jump on YouTube or anything like that, you could kind of understand in some of these pre-made videos are out here, and some of these are not super long, and so being able to kind of just get an understanding what religious trauma is, and Miss Dorothy will get into that. But one of the things that I do want you to know is where are we going with it? Because I don't want to sit back and I got 75 million windows open at the same time. What I want you to understand is what I call is spiritual independence, right? So spiritual independence is a person being able to understand, let me see how to frame this, is being able to find your own path, if you will. You got many examples. You got many stories, and people talk about their stories. Um, People go to churches, for instance. That's probably the most prevalent thing, but also within America, Western society, you only do church, and if you do anything other than church, then it's a problem. But being able to understand that you have a freedom to explore your own spirituality without the confines of the rigid doctrines or inherited beliefs, while we understand that religion is a framework that goes really deep. I'm really searching and looking at things like Judaism in terms of the mystic, the kind of the early churches, the Christian mysticism, right? And even if you look at how we talk and speak today, a lot of evangelical, Pentecostal, charismatic, those are the loudest denominations. Um, Even though Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the Mormons are using a lot of that money because they have probably the most money, um, not necessarily collectively like the Catholics, but as a single organization. So they have some major campaigns that they're pushing out and say, hey, you're lost. Are you needing help? Are you not finding yourself? They're putting this out, these common things that everybody's going to experience. And they'll say, Jesus Christ is blah, 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 Jesus Christ. And then eventually they'll take you down the road of the Book of Mormon. But true spirituality is often a deeply personal experience, and it's guided by inner wisdom and your inner experience. But how do I get to this level of autonomy, right? How do I get to this level of understanding that I'm allowed to not just think for myself and believe for myself, but also discredit or no longer believe certain things because it doesn't add up, it's not making sense, and now we're using these things to control, manipulate, or people that are already manipulated themselves are wanting you to be a part of that collective consciousness. So being able to recognize the challenges of the dogma that you experience, being able to question and critically think and examine the inherited beliefs, being able to explore and look at what are the alternatives, what are the things that I can do that can actually help me manifest something in my life, make things, have things where they vibrate in the frequency of what I'm living, right? Your depression could be, a lot of it could be coming from your religious experiences. And here it is, you don't attend church, but yet though you think, okay, I need to get back to church. I need to go back. I need to find God in my life. And you only limit God to being an external being, not even a being, it's always He. So spiritually, you think God is this outside thing, and I'm not good enough. I'm full of sin. I'm nothing without Jesus. I'm all these negative things that has all to do with the constructs and the way the church thinks and the way they have pushed for hundreds of years. So we're going to cover a lot of things. Basically, I want to be able to talk about these things, but also give some solutions, right? And then have some Q&A, because I'm more of a person that wants to help. I see things and I see more of the future. I see the futures now, but I see like, okay, I was able to do this and get this out of my life experience, because ultimately that's what it's about. It's about how do I change and how do I have a life experience that is calling me, that I desire to have. So, are you guys ready for Miss Dorothy Parker? Because guess what? I think I am ready to bring her on stage.
Alec, you crazy. Hey, everybody. I feel like we on a phone call.
This is, hey, that's what I kind of wanted. Like, you know, I wanted it to be kind of like one of our calls. We have conversations, long conversations, and we talk.
Yeah.
Right. And they're powerful conversations. And when we were having earlier conversations this week, that's whenever I was like, okay,
we're
gonna have some transformation and we're gonna have some breakthrough. You got some fans out here.
Hey, Holly.
You got some fans.
Hey, Marie. I just befriended you today.
Yeah.
I accepted her friendship.
I understand you guys. This is the Dr. Dorothy Parker.
I'm so ready. Hi, Gwendolyn. How are you? I'm ready too.
There's Miss Gwen. Like, yes, we gotta make sure that, yeah, that's everyone. Okay.
How does my sound? Am I sounding okay?
Yeah, you sound great. I believe everybody, y'all think that, Miss Gloria? Yeah. Yes. I thought I seen Mr. John Thomas. Hey, make sure you guys.
Hi, Alisa.
Alisa. Yes, make sure y'all invite all the people. Hey, Mr. John Thomas.
Hi, Mr. Thomas.
Humanitarian. Look, he's gonna be like, you said that wrong.
Not me. You said it.
Look at that.
Woo, powerful. Yes. So you know my life's background now.
I'll usually.
If you read that, I have it right here, Malachi.
Yeah, let's go ahead and flip that up.
If you read that, you know my background.
That's her book right there. How to Get Spiritually Unstuck. Tell people briefly what that is about.
Well, this is a long journey. This is I would say about a 40-some year journey in Christianity as a leader, church leader, speaker, international traveler, and my awakening and some of the trauma, some of the processes of deconstruction. And at the time that I wrote it, I didn't use the word deconstruction. I used the word spiritually stuck. But if you're reading this book, when you see spiritually stuck, feel comfortable exchanging that for deconstruction. And one of the things that I learned is that when you're deconstructing, I think I mentioned this the last time I was on the show, is that it's very important that you be healthy. If you're not healthy, and you start deconstructing, you're in trouble. I'm telling you, because all of that energy, all of that trauma, all of that pain that you're experiencing is going to come out in your body. A lot of people think deconstruction is just a mental process by itself or an intellectual exercise. No, deconstruction is a full holistic body experience. It's body, soul, mind, and spirit. And I went through some traumatic stuff. Some of the stuff I kept because I just didn't feel like it was worthy of a book. It just needs to go with me to the grave. But yeah, that was a
What are
lot.
some of the things like the background is she was like one of the people that would be in the hat and dressed up and Koji, like, you know what I mean? Like as they say, on fire. She was on
Shouting,
fire,
speaking in tongues, prophesying, laying hands on people. I did it all.
like literally this, like just to put it in kind of to really see it and how I see it is when I think of Carlton Pearson and then Azusa and then, you know, all the church women that are all in there and they are just really, really into it.
Yeah.
And for a person to actually say, I'm going to actually like leave, it's one thing to deconstruct, but it's another thing to be in that space and you have to look at decolonizing your mind, which we'll get more into. What basically is there's a difference between being in a Christian atmosphere, right?
Mhm,
That we know the
mhm.
construct and where it comes from, but then to be black and then you are in a black church because the black people don't necessarily like leave church as
No,
easy. It's a part of our community. It's like a part of our culture and community.
yeah, it's
It's
big.
got its own. It's got its own feel. It's got its own. You know, we got music. We have so much. But the thing is there are millions of people that are leaving and ready to leave.
Dare I say, with all humility, that um, the black church for black people is God. It is.
Mm,
It is the most sacred
ooh,
experience that black people have. I don't think white people see it the same way, and this is not a white or black thing, but it's just a reality.
cultural
White
too.
people, when white people experience church, it's a part of one of the things they do, like taking their kids to football games and going on a family picnic. It's a place that they go for to check in their morality, to check in their consciousness, to make sure that they are doing okay with the way they're living their life and how they're treating their brother and
And
things like
it's a
that.
part of their it's a part of the community,
Yes.
like um living with a person that grew up that if we're gonna have some white questions I can ask my wife, but she's in there, you know,
Yeah.
she
I would
but
love to be the
she grew up Methodist, right? And so the
okay.
thing is
Yes.
like they were all good people and
Mhm.
in terms of like but it was like okay we do this we go to this we go to the like
Let me
events
go home.
PTA but you go to church you're going to be there an hour you might you know the Sunday school teacher might go have a cigarette but
Yeah.
there's no
A struggle.
salvation there's no speaking in tongues and that's a even though we have in the charismatic Pentecostal white church it's a little different but still
Mhm.
global to me out of the 250 million Christians that are in this country, like I think maybe oh I don't know 30 million maybe the charismatic Pentecostals, something like that.
Mm. In this country alone,
30 to 50 million or something.
yeah, I think we have a very large
It's
I
it's
think we're close to like 80, 90% of
yeah.
the religious, I would say, category of Christianity in the United
No,
States.
yeah, it's 250 million.
Okay, that's a lot.
But when you look at Mormonism, you know,
Right.
when you look at Methodist, when we look at the white culture,
Don't
right?
forget Episcopalian,
Episcopalian, when you look at the white culture,
Anglo-Saxons, and
there's here's some evangelicals are just loud as hell. You know what I'm saying? They're the ones that's on TV, and there's the one that just loud. Kenneth Copeland is just loud. Like, he doesn't necessarily, quote unquote, represent all white church. He represents part of that thing that I was in, which is Oral Roberts. You know what I mean?
Who you say? Did you mention somebody's name?
Kenneth Copeland.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Kenneth Copeland,
Really
like
love black folks.
all those people are just loud, like in terms of like when they want to represent Christianity, but like what you were basically what you were saying is in the culture of black people going to church.
It's very sacred.
It's
It
sacred.
literally is a spiritual, conscious experience that black people take into their soul. It's a part of their, it's a part of that inner spirit. We're very, very soulish people. I mean, we came from, our ancestors did not worship in churches, in cathedrals, in buildings, and they did not go to a specific place to worship. And academia calls it primitive religion. But we were more of we had community when we did anything spiritual. And this is just not black people, this is indigenous people as well.
Indigenous, yeah.
It was very natural to having a family cookout and having the shaman come in and do something, and then you have the families dancing in this rhythmic, soulish kind of connection with the universe and the earth. So we had more of a natural experience with spirituality until we were colonized. Once we were colonized, we got into this very authoritarian, ritualistic, doctrinal, organized, controlled religion, because the whole purpose of introducing it was to control the slaves. And so colonizing, when they colonized us for this, it took away the naturalness of religion, that natural instinct that we had to connect with the divine, the transient, the cosmology, the universe. We were very earth people.
Yeah.
We love the earth. I mean, people are buying mats now to do earthing.
Yeah, I'm about to get
want
one
to go outside.
I'm gonna get one from my bed. I'm gonna just try it because everybody's talking about it. I'm like, there's a lot of original.
Right.
They say alternative medicine, and that was actually original medicine, right?
Absolutely.
It's interesting because people getting hoodoo mixed up with voodoo,
right?
As we talk about Bishop C.H. Mason and how he was integrating hoodoo practices, but we don't understand that spiritual hoodoo wasn't just spiritual. Hoodoo was actually just like a shaman. His grandmother, I believe, would be considered a shaman,
right?
You know, so she could put the different roots. Now, don't get it twisted. The story goes that they gave Frederick Douglass a root as he was escaping. Some hoodoo gave some roots and put in Frederick Douglass. The story goes that he didn't get caught. Frederick Douglass was freed. Then they put him back. They like, what is this dude doing?
Yeah, they captured him.
Captured him, but then he supposedly got some of the roots and a concoction put in his pocket, right? It's funny because we do this. You go to the doctor all the time and get all kinds of different concoctions that they're making up, and they get
rooted at the doctor because it takes your faith in the medicine that they're giving you for it to work.
Yes.
Remember the guy we was listening to this week, the neurosurgeon?
Ooh.
Did a complete, I don't know if you want to go into that right now.
We can a little bit. I mean, but you mentioned it a little bit, but I'm gonna get maybe a little piece of it.
Okay. So even medicine, I'll try to make it more of a broader perspective, but medicine, doctors, and this one particular neurosurgeon are having conscious awakenings where they are realizing that their medical education is not any more powerful than the person who sits at home and exercises, eats right, have a very good experience with being happy. They're not anxious, they're not stressed, and their bodies are healing, and is causing doctors to cancel surgeries. And so this doctor is the goody doody woody somebody.
Yeah, Gooby and Doobie. He's that's Gooby and Doobie is he's Gooby and his dog's Doobie. But basically, this doctor is actually a neurosurgeon.
Yes.
So, and what really brought that doctor into his field of study is because he was at MIT and wanted to study medicine with the integration of technology, right? You know, and
Exactly.
so being able to create limbs and put limbs and make it integrate with the body, we're going to get there.
Right.
And but the thing is like during neurosurgery, he said that a lot of times you end up doing spinal work
Mm-hmm.
versus doing just neurosurgery on the brain. And so he was doing these neurosurgeries, but catastrophic medicine,
Spinal work.
you
Mm-hmm.
know, catastrophic medicine
Mm-hmm.
is like we have mastered catastrophic medicine. You know, you come in. Yes, I think I still hear you.
No,
You.
I was saying hey to my son.
Yeah, yeah. I was gonna mention that to him, Mister Journey, right? So the catastrophic medicine is that you come in and you're bleeding and we need to put your arm back on. We probably can. We need to replace a heart. Medicine is incredible, really incredible.
Yes.
But being able to have conscious awakenings and physicians being able to say, you know what, are you meditating? Because that's what he said. Is like, are
That's
you
right.
meditating? Are you eating plant-based diets? How are you feeling, especially when it comes to spinal work? And
Right.
guess what the deal is with the spine?
Yeah.
What form of spirituality deals with the spine? Right?
Meditation.
Meditation is chakras,
Chakras.
right?
Absolutely.
The nervous system.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This Western based Eastern based medicine has already discovered a lot of it, but he was,
Mm-hmm.
ultimately he's talking about the money and those particular surgeries. I think he was saying that he had like maybe a 30%, 40%, where you come in and if you're dealing with a spinal issue,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you might only have like a 30 or 40% that you're going to be able to heal or help someone. And as we talking about, even this is including deconstructing
Yes, because that's what he did.
and decolonizing, because he had to deconstruct his mind from medicine. But can you
Exactly.
imagine if you are of the American African descent, and then
Mm-hmm.
you start talking about meditation, you start talking about plant-based foods, you start talking about, all of a sudden you're going to say, well, I got Dr. Jesus.
Exactly. That's the point. That is correct.
Who is Dr. Jesus? Jesus, first of all, is not a doctor. Jesus is a character that we talk about from the book that we call the Bible.
What's that
Yeah,
song we used to sing? Jesus is my doctor. Something about all my problems. It's an old.
yeah,
Somebody
yeah,
in the audience knows who I'm talking about. Knows the song, but we said Jesus was our doctor. He was our lawyer. He was our teacher. He was our preacher. He was church. This was church for Black people.
yeah,
We
yeah.
lived in church. We did not have an outlet on the slave farm. So everything took place in the church. So the church, Jesus became everything. We were completely out of our insane on that farm. We were
Yeah.
insane. We were in we were I'm going to use the word and take it with a grain of salt, but I think we were literally possessed with religion
Oh, yeah.
during slavery. There was an actual possession of the energetic spirit of religion that took over Black people,
Yes.
because you'll find that even the elite, you're not going to find them in Christian, Pentecostal. They're mostly Episcopalian,
And yeah. Yeah.
Methodist, Catholic, Anglo-Saxon.
Yep.
And I had to speak at Episcopalian church here in Baltimore, one of the biggest Episcopalian churches in the area. All of the elites go there. The head of the Department of Education, school system, the mayors. I'm talking whoever had a position in this area went to this church, and I had to minister there. And at that time, Malachi, I was a Pentecostal preacher. I wasn't going into Episcopalian church walking around doing this. I was in there hooping it.
You want to make part of it is we wanted to make sure that they seen us and know that we different.
Exactly. But what wind up happening was they were so hungry that I made an impact. So they're not going to come out of that atmosphere to get that kind of impact. You got to go into their atmosphere to give them that experience. But they're not going to come out of there because they are not into it like we are. And as Black people, we have an addiction to religion. And it puts us in very, I'm going to say, positions where we're constantly violated by religion. We're violated by the rituals and the doctrines, the authoritarianism, the desire to want to take money. You could take a little old lady down the street who's getting food stamps, right? Taking care of all 6 of her grandchildren and her children. And she will go to church and give that preacher her last dollar. You know what I'm saying? And she will believe that God is going to give her some food, not the dollar she just gave the preacher, but God is going to give her some food. So our level of deconstruction goes deeper. It's not about just walking away from the system. It's not about just having an experience where you say, you know, I don't agree with that doctrine, or you won't let gay people in the church, or you won't let women preach. That's not going to cause us to deconstruct. What's going to cause us to deconstruct is when we start being in pain. When religion starts to cause us pain, then we will deconstruct. We will come out of it and we will be traumatized. And you know what? We will heal for a little while and we will go right back.
Go right back.
And that's where deconversion comes in at, because in order to keep you out of that painful atmosphere and experience, you have to deconvert. You can't just deconstruct or decolonize. You got to go deeper, because that conversion is what caused that deep allegiance to the system. And I'm not talking about, you know, you got to leave your church. If you want to stay in your church, let me just lay this foundation. Do that. Do what you feel you need to do to have an experience with the divine, the sacred, the transient, God, Jesus, whoever it is that you worship. Because Christianity belongs to Paul. It never belonged to Jesus. But anyway, so there you go with how deep we are ingrained in religion, and it's harming us. It's destroying us because we can't think unless we're thinking about God. You can't talk to a religious Black person without them saying, well, I got to go pray. I got to talk to Jesus, or I got to talk to my pastor. People don't know how to have an independent experience with their spirituality. And that's where the deconstruction process has to take place, because in order for us to have these genuine, authentic experiences, we're going to have to get rid of the superficial, addictive type of allegiance to religion.
And I think it's just over the course of years, right? So when I get into my metaphysical work, in terms of shifting one's reality, it can be not even talking about religion. We're just talking about money. And I want to do better with money. I want to do better with weight. I want to do whatever it is, like shifting that reality of who you are. You're going to have to, something's going to have to be sacrificed. That current self is who it is, but you have to, something has to be sacrificed in order to say, okay, what is causing this? You know, every last one of us deals with some level of pain in life.
That's right. Yeah.
And we may want some level of transformation. I will go as
Mhm.
far as to say, Miss Dorothy, that by going through a spiritual independence journey, even if
Mhm.
you say, I want to go to a church and I love going to a church, I still
Right.
want to do all those things, you will still be able to have some level of understanding why millions of people are leaving, and you might still be there because you
Mhm.
like, but
Right.
you can understand why millions are leaving, or you can also understand why, because your religious practices can end up making you sick because you constantly having this external God that's going to do something for you, and you're not doing anything for yourself.
Right.
You
Yeah.
don't even realize that God is, if even if we want to placate the scriptures and say, he breathed breath in man,
Mhm. Mhm.
it's a noun. He breathed breath into you and created life. He knew you before the foundations of the earth. Like all
Right.
these different scriptures, right? They talk
Mhm.
about God being so powerful. And really, to me, the God that we are constantly serving, even in those churches, it's really not even that outside being. It's really that building. It's that pastor. It's that worship
Exactly.
service.
Exactly.
It's that organ. It's that, you know
Right.
what I mean?
That's
It's those books. It's that
right.
Bible.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
that's
Right.
essentially what you are actually calling God. Like,
Yeah.
it's all of those items, because
Mhm.
you're not taught or told that God is necessarily within you, right?
Exactly. That's correct. That's
So the
correct.
self-healing that you can experience, like
Mhm.
literally the self-healing you can experience, and we're going to discover that's where that doctor was talking, where
Yeah.
even outside of the religious spaces, that doctor's
Mhm.
talking and saying, these people are following this protocol, and I'm losing patience because of the fact that I am actually give them the protocol,
Mhm.
and people are all of a sudden becoming healed, right? So
Without the doctors
without
in.
the doctor. So the thing is deconstructing, decolonizing, and
Mhm.
developing a
Mhm.
spiritual independence is going to shift your life, even
Yeah.
if you're not in the church right now. Like,
Yes.
as you work on this.
Exactly. So to add to that, the deconstruction is we've as I was sharing with you this week, we have made it a fad now. Everybody's deconstructing. Everybody's talking about I'm deconstructing. And it's almost like a popular term where every social media influencer that is in have some type of spiritual relationship is deconstructing. You cannot go on anybody's social media site, their YouTube site, or wherever, and you don't see the word deconstruction. But deconstruction is happening all over the world. It's not just happening in the church. So, to take the taboo out of it, we have to understand that this is a season of deconstruction for the world, for humanity. And underneath of that, there's a pressure cooker happening that is causing people to make a decision about what they believe, about what they see as sacred, because what's going to happen is all of these things are going to be shaken up very soon. So if you're foundationed in that, if your identity is stuck in that, then you're going to be crushed even worse than what you are experiencing now, under what we call religious and spiritual trauma and abuse. Because right now you have control over whether or not you remain in that or whether or not you leave out of it. But this deconstruction that is happening across the country is coming against what Peter Berger, the sociologist, calls the sacred canopy. And what's happening is the sacred canopy is being deconstructed. So the things that we do that fall under the sacred are falling on their face because of the trauma, the abuse, because of the way that leaders are being exposed, their behavior. We got leaders, we got people running for political office, presidents. Morality has walked away from humanity. We have no more morality at all. And all of this stuff falls under the sacred canopy, because that's what religion is to a society. It's the sacred canopy under which everything culminates. The our morals, our values, what is good, what is bad, right, wrong, and also it's the sacred canopy under which we all gather to experience the transient divinity. Everything is under this canopy. But what's happening is that canopy is what's being deconstructed. And we are getting the benefits of it being deconstructed. So if I just want to encourage everybody that's listening that if you're experiencing a I don't know, a quickening, I would say, or a stirring, or a whirlwind in your spirit where you're sensing that what you used to do, you can't do it no more. You just can't sit in church and listen to the message about Jesus died on the cross and how Abraham went to sacrifice his son, and Moses went to the burning. But you have heard these stories all of your life, and now you're saying, I need more. I need something more. That more comes when you deconstruct from the system and you open yourself up to a spiritual journey where your consciousness can expand, where your relationship with the sacred can expand beyond the rigidity of doctrine, of rituals, of rules and regulations of the church, of who is accepted in your congregation or who is not, and whether or not, if your family member is no longer in the church, then they're no longer a part of that community. So there is a deconstruction that is happening with the sacred canopy of religion. The canopy is coming down, and when it's coming down, it's almost like we've tapped into the glass ceiling of religion. And I think people are finding themselves in need of instruction on how to make it through that path. And so that's what we're here to offer. We're here to offer our services, our support, our coaching, whatever we can do to help you take this journey. And another thing you have to remember is that deconstruction is not a destination. You're not looking to go somewhere or to achieve something or to arrive at a specific place. Deconstruction is about getting on the path to the journey. The journey is constant. You grow, and as you're on that journey, you change on the journey. You don't change when you stop at a destination. Because some of us are trying to find out, if I deconstruct, what am I going to do? Where am I going to go?
Ooh.
What community am I going to be a part of? How am I going to see and understand God? Let me tell you something. When I was going through this process right here, I lost God because the God that I knew was in church, was the church God. I didn't know God outside of the church. So I didn't have this expanded ideology of how God was, God made the universe. God is a part of everything. No, I just knew him from the Bible. I knew him from his appearance here on the earth through Jesus. I knew that somehow, strangely enough, Mary got pregnant by a spirit, and here comes Jesus. And there's a lot of mysticism, philosophical tones in the scripture that it'll make more sense when you deconstruct, because then you get into the consciousness of it and not the literalness of it. You understand what I'm saying? You start to see that side of you that can work a miracle, that side of you that can experience the impregnation of the Spirit, that side of you that can also transcend and talk to your ancestors, like Jesus talked to Moses and Elijah on the mountain of transfiguration. All of these experiences are mystical and they are comforting, but they are locked in a rigid system that says this is how you have to experience it. So
I'm feeling that deconstructing is also, we're getting it, of course, we're getting that term largely from the space of religion, specifically in America, Christianity, moving
right,
to, my thing is just even just not necessarily dropping it, but just even having the understanding of Eastern versus Western.
right,
Western Christianity and how significantly more dogmatic it is,
yeah,
and shaped by our country. How even if you look at Christian nationalism, it's like they get to define on what Christian is and what
yes,
Christianity is. And I
exactly.
mean, you whether it's somebody attacking somebody, they've been attacking. I think it's almost like they're attacking each other more so now with, I have a YouTube channel and I want to say how bad Michael Todd is doing, or I want to say how bad Kenneth Copeland or whoever. I want to say, I I don't watch any of those people, but
Right.
it's like, it's easy for this to happen, looking at denominations,
Yeah. Yeah.
sectors, groups,
Yeah.
and who is right. And
Exactly.
especially
Yeah.
as you build your collective. But one of the things I'll say is, man, I'm learning that the deconstructing has a lot to do with it's got a lot to do with critical thinking.
Absolutely.
It's got a lot to, and we'll get further into the document you have in
Yeah.
terms of being able to identify and being able to look at some of the things that we're talking about. But
Mhm.
there's some interesting comments that
Okay.
that that I kind of seen, and one of them was the bakers, and I like that suffering leads to grace, but also some suffering, because the thing is like, I have folks that have been wrapped up into this, and I know people
Right. Right. Right.
that are wrapped up into this, and their suffering is not leading to anything. We'll get into it. Their suffering is leading into depression.
Right.
Hoarding is
Right.
leading into like a lot of just issues that are actually killing people,
Right.
because it's so, like, I come from a strict, I didn't come from a lighthearted church.
Me either. I
Well,
came from the cold, dark, laying on a bench, fasting and praying,
yeah, Tyrion
communion,
and
feet
sitting there
washing services.
in your face next to you. Thank you, Jesus. 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 Thank you,
Yes.
Jesus.
Hey Jesus. Hey Jesus. Say
Right.
it
And then
faster so you can sound like you're speaking in tongues. You remember
you
that?
spitting and all that. One time I was about 16 years old, and I'm like in the search for myself, and there was a group of people, and she was just said, "Come on, say thank you, say thank you." And I was just sitting there, and I start saying thank you, and I was sitting there, and I was looking, and I just looked at her, and I was just like, I swear, I don't know. She didn't think it was the devil. I hope, I mean, because I looked at her, and I was like, "Will you leave me alone?"
Well, we didn't have that choice because back in the day, let me tell you something. If the missionaries or the pastor or them deacons, it was mainly the missionaries and deacons. If they told you to say Jesus and speak in tongues and you didn't, you got your butt whipped when you got home. So
I was just I was just at that level, though, that it was worth the sacrifice in slavery. Like, there was a time that if you were a slave, there comes a time that you might sacrifice and be like, you know
yeah,
what? I guess you just gonna have to kill me, because
right. You just had to beat me today because I'm
I'm
not feeling it.
tired of this. This is not right. And it was just something that rose up. It was in my spirit. The baker, she said, once transcend religions, you can sit in any church without triggering or receiving insight. Yeah, man, man, it's hard. I mean, like, I went to one recently, to a concert. I wasn't necessarily triggered as much as it was like it wasn't triggering anything. It wasn't triggering me where I felt bad about myself.
Right, right.
I was sitting back looking, and I'm watching. And I'm seeing how, because I'm sitting over to the side, and it's kind of a concert.
Mhm.
I'm sitting over to the side. And do you know how many times that the pulpit would tell the people to do something,
Right,
and
right.
if you don't do it, they would judge you?
Exactly. Remember the preacher that went viral recently? Because he was telling everybody to lift your hands. And then this one lady, I guess she was on a praise team and she didn't want to lift her hands. And he took almost 5 minutes in the pulpit to scold her for not lifting her hands. And then he told her, leave. You're gonna, because see, people don't understand this is not God's church. These churches belong to these pastors.
They belong to the pastors.
They don't belong to God. And this is one thing that I want to say about what Stacy just put in the comment section. Stacy, that's my daughter with that's my son's best friend, Stacy Baker. So I want to say this about, and this is another one of these foundational statements that I need to make because I am going very, very hard against religion. I'm not so much after churches or organizations. I'm after the institution of religion. And I'm after it because it has taken such a sacred place in the life of the individual that it has stifled individual
Mm.
growth. And because we are so locked into listening to the preacher and listening to the deacons and the missionaries and being locked into the Bible and all of these rituals and doctrines, and when we feel ourselves wanting to expand, we can't, because our expansion is only as large as the canopy of religion that we're under. And so it's important for us to understand that I don't I don't have a problem with people going to church. My family goes to church all the time. I have nothing but preachers and pastors and deacons and elders and leaders in my family and singers and musicians of all kinds and types and shapes and sizes. Okay. So going to church is different than having the experience that I'm talking about, deconstructing from religion, because you can deconstruct from religion and still go to church. What'll happen is you'll go in awakened, you'll have an idea, you'll have a better opportunity of being able to challenge any beliefs or any ideology that doesn't sit right with you, where you may be suffering with some cognitive dissonance. So you can sit in a church, but if you get able to critically examine and question the ideology, the doctrines, the rituals, then that's a part of the deconstruction process. Is that's like the first stage. So critically examining and questioning beliefs and practices and traditions, you can do that and still be a part of the church. So don't feel like this is about leaving church. When we get into deconversion, then we're talking about leaving. We're talking about walking away. We're talking about completely transforming how you see and understand your spiritual walk. But in deconstruction, there is still the mix of, the church, the rituals, the attendance, but there is a critical ability to examine and question their beliefs. And I'm telling you, once you start questioning beliefs, doctrines, and rituals, then the next step is going to be how the leaders are going to start treating you, because you're not going to be able to sit under them with and listen to the stuff that they've said if you critically examined it. So that's going to cause some decolonization.
Right. And then
So
so is there some decolonization in your document?
yes, let me read this deconstruction real quick, just to give a framework for it. Deconstructing from religion involves critically examining and questioning the beliefs and practices inherited from religious traditions. This process allows individuals to uncover underlying assumptions and develop a more personalized and authentic spirituality. Deconstruction often reveals the cultural and historical context that shape religious doctrines, prompting individuals to reconsider and redefine their spiritual path. This journey can be challenging as it may lead to feelings of uncertainty and isolation. However, it also offers the potential for profound growth, empowerment, and inclusivity. So that's deconstruction. Um, you wanted you want decolonizing?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you have is that in your document you have there?
Yes, yes,
Because
yes.
we can probably go through some of that. One of the things I was
Okay.
thinking about, the thing about deconstructing also and looking at church
Hmm.
is we got to understand too, like our experiences are individual. Because
Right.
because the thing is like part of that, another one of those terms, we got probably some terms that we can get within the document, but because spiritual abuse is a little it's like part of it. Like
Yeah.
the deconstructing is like the top of the funnel,
Yes.
if you will. It's the top of the thing. Like, okay, I want to examine myself to see,
Hmm.
especially whenever I'm looking at spiritual independence, so that I have some degree or level of understanding that I can heal myself. I can bring
Right.
stuff into my life. I could begin to find my authentic self. I could begin
Hmm.
to, like, what's the point in, I mean, keep doing what you're doing if you just comfortable, completely 100% comfortable with your life
Right.
in
Yeah.
terms of like what the output experience is.
Yeah.
um unless you have something calling up on you, because here's the thing. I was about to text her. I need her to be on this. Is Mrs. Rose.
Hmm.
um Rose is someone I met, but she had to escape the Mormon church. Like,
Right.
you don't.
That's the decolonize and deconstruct deconversion part of it.
Yeah, you have to escape it, because
Yeah.
they're gonna know where you live. If
Yes.
you move somewhere, they have a team of people that will actually know where you are. Like,
Yes.
it gets into the point where some of it gets really like kind of eerie, where you like, what do you, how do you know where I'm at?
Right.
Because their whole entire process of what do you call it? A lot of in Black churches, it's just something that we do and it's a part of what we do,
Hmm.
versus like, all right, you got to make sure you read this book this morning. You got to make sure you do this at this time. And then after you do that, and if you're 19 years old, I have on my phone, I just started recording them on Snapchat. The average user on Snapchat is probably going to be 13 to 40 or so,
Mm.
maybe 50, but 13 to 25 is going to be your heavy Snapchat user.
Hmm.
And they have about $250 billion. But literally, I was sitting there on Snapchat, and I'm gonna make a video about it, but I sit there and record it. Look at this, Miss Dorothy. I sit there and recorded it. And these people had, look, ad after ad after ad after ad. And they, after ad, strategically, they find a 19-year-old white girl. They had one Black, but then they didn't let her talk much. 19-year-old Black girl. I'm a marketing consultant by trade. My master's in
Right.
business is in marketing. Then I
Right.
have psychology. So
Yeah.
the church is using, they're using psychology. They're
Yes.
using marketing efforts from
Yes.
corporate America. They're
Yes.
using social media.
Yes.
That
Sociology.
this is not a matter of deconstructing and doing this. This is not a matter of like, I just want to be free and I just want to do my thing.
Exactly. That's
No,
right.
these systems, no different than government.
Hmm.
These systems they are doing everything possible to influence, to make sure that you like those messages that they'll say. If
Hmm.
you're, are you feeling lost? Do you need some help? Are you feeling like, are you feeling lonely?
Church
There's
is doing
nothing
some
that
great marketing.
Jesus Christ can help you. And
Yes.
and before you know it, now you're wrapped up into this, thinking that it's even a normal church. But they
Yeah.
specifically, Rose talks about, like, literally, uh, she is in a state of mind where coffee, like she couldn't drink coffee. She couldn't
Mm,
show her sleeve, her arms. And like literally it was like it was so bad when she had to actually shift and
yeah,
actually having her own way of thinking that these individuals have done some psychological it's
yeah,
brainwashing, but
exactly.
this stuff can be heavy, heavy, heavy when you know. She says it's put it on the shelf is what it's called in their church. When
Mm,
it talks, then when they tell you about um, something that you don't understand, whereas like the apostle said to do this, and you have
mhm,
to do this, and they're
mhm,
like, but I'm more qualified than this guy to actually be on this mission. But he has
mhm.
to be over me because he's a man, and I
Right.
am. And
That's a whole nother
no,
story.
and
Right,
well, she says in that church, it's a saying that you say, put it on the shelf.
right. Yeah,
We
yeah,
just we
yeah.
put it on the shelf. I think we have some of our own um we have some of our own things that we may experience. Carlton Pearson experience where he said, "No, I don't believe this," and all of a sudden, people, of course, he was had such a high profile, but people really came for him.
Yeah,
By
yeah,
there's a lot of people that
yeah,
believed that he believed, but
right.
since he had such a platform, to this day, you can go get on his. I mean, this man has lived and has died and left a video, and there's still people on there, and they're not just saying, "Man, I wish he would have changed." They're saying, I bet you he's burning now. I bet you he's feeling it right now." Like my thing is like, what? Don't you have an option though in your heart? Don't you have an option in your heart to be like, well, maybe he did say something. Well, maybe he did say something that, like you just like you want a person to go to hell more than what a scripture's saying just because you want to be right.
Exactly. That is the key. But this hell and heaven thing, let me just say this real quick. Uh People who wield this like the slave master whip,
Mm,
that's what they do when they're using that heaven and hell thing to try to bring you under control, that fear. They're psychologically trying to convert you. And by psychologically converting you, there's a deeper imprint that is making inside of
yeah.
you if they were just telling you Jesus loves you.
Mm,
There is a
yeah.
psychological abuse that
Yeah.
happens. Let me tell you, people who are if you abuse somebody, the chances of you getting them to do what you want them to do is better than if you do it out of love. So you'll find a lot of preachers are very authoritarian. They're very mean. They're very intolerant, and so especially Pentecostal, apostolic, these Bible beating people who love to judge people, who love to put people in hell. Let me tell you something. What I really believe: church people really don't want you to be saved. Like you said, they just want to be right. They just want to feel like they are wielding the whip of the Bible because it makes them feel more connected to the message. So, and to the doctrine and to the rituals. It's like, okay, if you go to church, we had one guy who came to a church. I was a part of Bible Way. I was a part of Church of God in Christ. I was a part of Baptist. And this guy came into the church, right? I don't think he's had an experience. I always have to confirm that I'm telling the right story with my older sister because she's good, better at this than me. But the guy came into the church, he was feeling so good that whenever everybody else was saying amen, he was saying fuck. He was cussing. He was like, God, this is good. You know what I'm saying?
You said it was good like that?
He was using that sailor language to explain how good he was feeling. And it just so happens that they didn't judge him right then and there. But as he got further into it, what happens is you and I can't go to church and do that. You know why? Because we've already been infected with religion. So when we go to church, you're not going to hear us saying damn or hell or, I'm trying not to get vulgar, but those other words. We're not going to get away with saying that. The first thing they're going to tell us is you're going to hell if you don't repent. I mean, I grew up with people saying, you act just like the devil.
Oh, yeah.
Told you,
That's the devil in you. I think they used to try to
yes.
whoop. Well, there was a time where they were trying to whoop the devil out of you.
and,
The devil was so in you that you needed it whipped out of you.
Now, here I am, like 5-6 years old, right? And I'm being told that I'm acting like the devil that I never met. How am I acting like a devil that I don't even know nothing about, right? But when I'm good and doing something good, I never hear, oh, you acting like Jesus. It's a constant reminder of the devil. The devil is the biggest, I'm telling you, the church loves talking about the devil. They love talking about hell. They love talking about repentance. They love talking about your sins and what you're doing wrong, because that keeps you in the pew. If they tell you what you're doing right, then and you start maturing and growing up and not needing to be whipped to stay saved, then you won't have as many churches. But as long as you are sinning, as long as you are doing wrong, and as long as you sleeping with your neighbor's wife and you killing people and you abusing people and doing all of the things that is necessary and classified as sin, the church loves you. They want you in the pews. So if you know anybody in your life or anybody around you that are doing those things, take them to church. The church is going to love them. If you in the church and you doing right, you living right, you doing, I guess, what they would consider to be living right. You got good morals. You got good standards for yourself. You're paying your tithes and your offering and your terumas and all the other financial categories that they've put there. Then you are you're not what the church wants. Matter of fact, you're a casualty. You need to leave, because they don't need you. They need people who are sinning and constantly repentant. That's what the church thrives off of. So, yeah. So I've experienced it.
No, that's the. I think what people just are maybe getting is that this thing is in our country, it is a 400-year developed system. But then when you look at there's a lot within this system that's developed that most people have no idea. And that is, eschatology, end times. I think that like the heavy push of it is probably maybe 150 years old, right? But over the last 50 years, with the development of the end times theory, end times books, that has really perpetuated it. 1611 King James built the Bible. That was not a thing. And then prior to that, early church, when you look at Christian mysticism, they weren't a lot of the things that we talk about and we have formulated in today's church wasn't even wasn't even necessarily a thing.
It was not.
Right?
Definitely wasn't.
We have developed so much on our own, and we call it what it is. And I think now is a time that we have enough information. We have people that are having experiences. We have enough understanding now to actually leave, right? To actually think, to actually think. That was what Carlton had told me years ago, is like, I just want people to think. I'm not telling nobody to leave a church.
Yeah. Just think.
I just want people to think, right?
Use your brain.
I mean, and we've been doing it for so long.
Yeah.
Now we're starting to get into epigenetics, right?
Yeah.
And we're starting to get into, and we've been doing it for so long. I could take somebody from the streets that are lost, that really need some love, And
Yeah.
one of the things is there's enough part of some churches, there's enough of those things. There's good music. There are some people that'll feed you, right? There's enough
Mhm.
good things in a lot of churches that it's easy. It doesn't take much for someone to be like going from the street in
Yeah.
prison, you
Yeah.
know, yeah. And then all of a sudden they have a ministry or they
Right.
have a church, or I mean, I'm in
Absolutely.
Tulsa, Oklahoma. So like literally this is like
You're infected.
it's ground zero for um it's ground zero for church institutional development. So
Yes.
not just like what churches are here, it's just the fact that you had Oral Roberts and Rhema and T.L. Osborne, and like
Yeah.
literally you have a lot of places that was like, hey, we could get you going and started in ministry and building
Mhm.
ministries and
Mhm.
using, and the biggest thing was using television. That's
Right.
what I was trained in, is
Right.
like being able to use television so that you can actually grow. They tell a story about Oral Roberts in the prayer room, and they said that those envelopes and the people had the envelopes, and you got to imagine they had enough money coming in where he's building 60-story buildings. He's
Yeah.
building
Towers.
towers, like,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they said that the money that was coming in was overwhelming because of how much people were sending money, because he would say, come to this TV
Mhm.
screen, put your hands on this TV screen. You know, that was one thing that was one thing, because there was only two people that really hit major television the hardest in the 50s, and that was Billy Graham was,
Mhm.
but his was just general. He was just going out and then talking
Yeah.
about Jesus.
Yeah.
Where Oral Roberts was putting 10 tents that could fit 10,000 people,
Yes, he was.
right? And then all of a sudden, these people were wanting healed and wanting, and they were just pouring money
Mhm.
into these organizations, so that because people really wanted something. Uh,
Mhm.
s- so I would say they really wanted something. They wanted something spiritually, and the church has owned,
Mhm.
religion has owned spirituality. And one of the things that I would like to briefly talk about, I think it was you that told me that the Abrahamic faiths and how they really brought in the church really is how religion, you had religions, but it was kind of more of like ways of life, where you have Buddhist and Hindu.
Right, right,
But
right.
then actually to say here, you have your religion versus it just being the way
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
people lived.
Right. Yeah, because what happened was, I think it was the Roman Empire, when we started this battle with all of these sects that came out of Rome, and Constantine decided that he wanted to have a state and a empire that was divine. Basically, he wanted a religion that elevated his empire, and he made himself a bishop. Number one, he wasn't ordained by anybody. This is the same way preachers get started today. They go to sleep, they have a dream, and all of a sudden, they're the king. But anyway, he had some type of vision. His wife had a vision, and so he had this dream that he wanted a state religion. And so he called together the Council of Nicaea to come to bring all the greatest minds, all the greatest theology, philosophy, mysticism, all of the teachers and the religious sects, bring them together and see if we can put together a state religion. Christianity won out, but it won out. There was physical violence, I understand, even during that time, and a lot of sects got thrown out because they didn't fit the doctrinal pattern that the church was looking for. But what has happened is that prior to that, you didn't even find Abraham, Moses. You didn't find them. They built a tabernacle a place where, and this is what the church is built off of. Number one, they built a tabernacle, and in this tabernacle is where God rested. And this is where we get this ideology that religion is that sacred canopy, because you're talking about that tabernacle. You're talking about what is the thing that they would carry, the ark. You're talking about the ark. They had the angels on us. So this is where we start getting into organized religion. And then as we come up even further, you look at how organized religion replaced natural religion. This is how come I'm saying I'm after institutional religion, because there's a part of us that is going to do rituals. We're going to have experiences where we are having these connections with the existential, the transcendent. You know what I'm saying? The spiritual, the consciousness. We're going to have these experiences because they're natural to us as human beings. But when you start getting into where the church is locked into a system. Remember, we were talking about systems this week. When systems are good, Malik, I can tell you about some good systems.
Well, and I'll tell you, there's a difference between a mental system,
exactly,
and a physical system. Exactly. Like a mental system of indoctrination. I think here's the thing, Miss Dorothy, is they know that systems work when it comes to formulation. Like, in other words, in order for you to deconstruct, you want to actually look at the system, right? And not necessarily as the institutional system, but the fact that, okay, what is the pattern, right? Human beings, we all work in patterns. That's the way we're designed. And so there is, okay, how do I understand? There's spiritual abuse. What is spiritual abuse? There is, matter of fact, is that in your document here?
Spiritual abuse, yes.
Constructing,
this here.
Decolonizing.
Okay, that's you don't have your.
Yeah, that's the slide. But
the slide.
I have the slide. I sent you the. You want me to send you the slide?
Or the wheel, or at least
you have the wheel, right?
The wheel, yeah.
I have it up. If you want me to share my screen,
just share it just like you did that right there. Because what happens is, like,
is it up?
I have the Discovering from Religion. Your I think that's just a thing that plays.
Oh yeah, but my screen. I have it on my screen. If you want to share it, if I could share mine.
I have no idea.
I don't either. But anyway, but you have the wheel in your text message. If you go on your text message, you can pull out the wheel. And that wheel is the religious abuse symptoms, the different symptoms that people experience: the physical, the psychological, emotional, behavioral, relational, and cognitive. These are the seven. These are our 7 experiences that you're going to have when you're talking about religious abuse and trauma. Under the psychological, you got somatic complaints, which are physical complaints that you can have in your body, sleep disturbances, and fatigue. Under the emotional, and this is what I experienced when I started deconstructing, because my deconstruction started 3 years before I left the church.
Oh, wow.
I was deconstructing in the church, and a lot of people are. And that's why I say deconstruction does not mean that you have left the church. People are having these experiences in the church. So emotional symptoms of religious abuse is anxiety, depression, guilt, shame, anger, resentment, intrusion of thoughts, and identity confusion. And what happens in this area, this emotional area, is a lot of people are experiencing these things and they're calling them devils and demons.
Yes.
And they're calling them spirits. But what they don't know is they're coming from what you're listening to, that ear gate. They're coming in through the ear gates, and it's causing these types of emotional symptoms. And a lot of times when we go to church, sometimes you could be sitting in church and you'll just start crying. This was what happened to me. You just break out into these tears. You don't know why, but you know what we do is we take that experience, and we say that that's God, that's a movement of God. But in reality, you don't know that underneath, somewhere deep down inside, you're having a experience from abuse, constantly being told that you haven't met the mark, or if a eye can go through a needle, a camel can go through the eye of a needle, then a rich man can't even make it into heaven, and the righteous will scarcely make it in, and you're running around trying to be saved, but you only believe 144,000 are going to be saved. So you're fighting to get in that number. There's a lot of trauma around ministry. You're constantly dealing with hell and heaven, and constantly trying to make sure that you fit right where God wants you to fit. Because if he comes back and you left here, all you're going to see is all them people's clothes that got thrown off in the air, when the scripture doesn't even say that. It says that he took the unrighteous out of the earth, not the righteous. But anyway,
this is this is what she's going over right here. What you see,
yeah,
this is one that actually she developed for the black, what is your
black religious trauma and abuse website. But I switched it to make it more broad to pathways to deconstruction. So but it's all still under the same umbrella.
But she's developed this one because you can look up religious.
Yes.
There is a religious trauma wheel.
Yes.
And what you guys got to know is this is not something that's just made up. This is coming from a therapeutic foundation.
Right.
So the general one outside of black religious trauma, because we understand there's certain aspects that are different within the American African experience, but some of these still will relate. So in other words, is like if a person is having anxiety, depression, guilt, shame, anger, right? You may be having some, that's the emotional symptoms that you're having.
Right.
And if you can look on this actual wheel, these are certain symptoms you may have.
Right.
But in a therapeutic setting, this gives the person that will be assisting or helping you some level of direction that may actually give you some tools to go over or to go with or to think about. Because the thing is like, we're finding out that this is not just this is not something that a person that just needs to go see a pastor, or you just need to go.
You can't.
Matter of fact, I had Rose she told me about going to a therapist and actually experiencing where the therapist is not necessarily in tune with what this is.
Most of them not. This is very young. Religious and spiritual abuse, as from a therapeutic perspective, is extremely young. There's very little research. It has not been accepted in the academic field the way it has to. So you have a lot of therapists, psychologists, psychiatrists that are coming together and putting together. They're even trying to get the terms right, because this is what I'm saying about religion. It's so sacred that to study it from this perspective a lot of times can make people feel like, this is sacrilege. This goes against God. How are you going to take something spiritual and try to define it in a secular world? When what you don't understand is everything that you do in your church started in the secular world. And the institution of religion is for society. It is not for the individual. So this wheel just gives you some ideas of some experiences that you may have. And what happens is you cannot really understand how these experiences are affecting you until you come out. As long as you're in, it's like a fish in water. As long as you're in the water, you don't see the water. You know what I'm saying? You just know you're a fish and you just floating around. But it doesn't matter that you still floating around in a lot of garbage.
Yeah. What was that? Yeah, there was a old fish, and he was swimming, and he swam by two young fish, and the old fish looks at him and says, "How's the water, boys?" And the fish both look at each other like, "What is he talking about? What's water?"
Exactly. And you know what? As simple as that is, it's such a powerful metaphor of even how we are when it comes down to things that are divine and sacred. We look outside of ourselves for these things because we're meshed in them.
Yes.
It's a part of the universe. It's a part of the cosmos. It's a part of the conscious field. We're already in the spiritual realm, but we go to church to make us feel like we're in a spiritual realm. But that's not where you get it. What's happening in the church, what you think the church is giving you is what you're giving the church. Everything that's happening in the church that you're feeling and experiencing is coming out of you. It's not coming into you, it's coming out of you. You know, the scripture that says is not what goes into a man that defiles him, is what comes out of him. So everything that comes out of you is not defiling. That's just the way Christianity deals with it. But there's a lot of experiences that you're going to have when you're deconstructing, and there's relational symptoms. How many people in this audience have been isolated from their families, or their families don't want to talk to them because they no longer go to church or believe the way that they used to believe? You experience avoidance, these hyper compulsive behaviors where you're constantly wondering, looking around, making sure you're not being chased by some spirit or something because you can no longer follow the doctrine of the church. You're laying down at nighttime and you don't know what's going to attack you because you've been told so much. There's so much abuse. I can't even begin to explain the intellectual abuse that is affecting people.
Look at this statement. This is going hand in hand. Much like a narcissistic relationships, you don't know how to deal or identify it, the issues until you get out of it. Right.
That's exactly right.
So it's like, as we talking about deconstructing, follow me.
Yeah.
As we talking about deconstructing and decolonizing, it is not limited to even religion.
It is not. It's not. People are deconstructing from families, from traditions. We're deconstructing from society. I mean, think about the changes that are happening in politics. There's a deconstruction that's happening in our political system.
Yeah.
In our legal system.
Yeah.
In our educational system. In the media. It's happening even in medicine. Look at doctors are walking away because they're awakening with the operating utensils in their hand.
Yes.
You're realizing, listen, I can't operate on people no more because I've awakened to the fact that these people can be healed without me cutting them. And that simple awakening is causing, you know, the medical field to, like I said earlier, deconstruction is not just a religious thing. It is happening. We're in a season, or we're in what I would call a age of deconstruction, because we're getting back to that enlightenment stage, that Aquarius stage that is coming upon us, is going to awaken us. And so people are going to start waking up in the church. You're going to wake up wherever you are. You do not have to leave any particular place. It's going to happen to you. You can get ready for it. You can expect it. You can write down this day and stamp it. But I'm very confident that we're all going to experience some deconstruction in whatever area where we have constructs up that are causing us to be rigid and not open to growth. The individual cannot grow because the institution won't grow. And as long as you're part of the institution, your growth is only as large as the institution will grow.
I got something real quick here because I was like, I've been wanting to do this.
Yeah.
And I want just people, I've been talking about her.
All right. Hey, Rose.
Hello.
How are you?
I was like, well, you know what? I'm
Let's
going to have
bring
her
some
come
people
up
up.
just briefly, just because of the fact that, what would I say? It's one thing for us to talk about it and different people to experience it.
Yes.
But your level of experience from an organization that is really, really, really strong in terms of like their tightness within their systems in their organization on bringing members in, on letting members go, like
They don't let members go.
right,
I have recent stories. Yeah.
right. So they don't even. So basically, it's more of a system where we don't just sit back and talk about you.
Yeah.
We come for you.
Yeah. So, I mean, since the last time I've chatted with you, they've come for me. I have lived in 4 houses in Oklahoma. I've never told anyone where I've lived. I've never given anyone my address, and they have been at my house. Notes at my door, sent me text messages. And every time these sweet missionaries come, I know because I've been there, and I say, you do not have permission to be here. You may not come here anymore. I'm not rude to them. I understand. I've been in their situation. You need to stay away. You don't have permission. I am on the do not contact list. And they come back and they text me just probably 2 weeks ago. Hey, is this? And then they gave my married name, my ex-married name, which I've been divorced for 4 years. And I said, how did you get my information? And they said, well, aren't you a member of the church? And on all of the, like, you'll have to go into a website and say, do not contact me. That's all irrelevant. Like, it just, like, I really, like, I have to get a lawyer and leave, like, this summer, because they're working on building a temple in Tulsa. And if I don't, like, it's going to cause me serious. I mean, I already am having serious anxiety, but it's just going to be like, they're going to buckle down. Like, it's rough. It's really rough, but yeah.
So, Rose, I have a question. What do they want?
To not leave. They want
you to come back.
participating active members to come back. I think they want, they believe they're the only true church. And a lot of churches say that, but they have buckled down on this message. So this narrative is so insanely entrenched. It's literally in the first message that you share when you're a missionary and you go out and try to proselytize and recruit.
Right.
So it's not about Jesus, it's about us.
Right.
And so we don't want to lose anyone. We want participation. We want money. We want to grow. We don't want to lose people. And there's a lot of deconstruction going on. I deconstructed for years before I left while I was in the church.
Exactly.
Right?
That's right.
So they want people back. They don't want to lose people.
So the whole point of them coming after you is to bring you back, even against your will.
Yes.
And I think people have to understand this, because we think this is isolated to a Sun Young Moon. Y'all remember back in the 80s when they were capturing people in buses and brainwashing them, and families would have to go find them to, de-brainwash them, or I forgot what that word is, but this is happening a lot.
This is my life at this moment.
Yeah.
In Oklahoma.
Right.
That I have said this many times.
Yeah.
And it's seriously causing me. I have to get a lawyer.
Wow.
I have to get a lawyer to get them to stop doing that. There is no reason they should have my information.
Right.
I don't know. I asked them directly, how did you get it? And they can't answer. They refuse to answer. Wow. How they got they have been on my doorstep.
Wow. And these are missionaries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes me wonder, like, as we even look at Christian nationalism, you know what I mean? And how it's, so this deconstructing conversation is already turned into weaponization,
Absolutely.
So
Exactly.
much.
Yes.
right?
So much.
Because I mean, if you look at the political side of this, it's like that is a form of weaponization of saying, like, you got to
Yes.
vote for me
Yes.
based on, if you don't vote for me, then you are on the side of the devil, which is
Right.
like on the side of
Right.
evil,
Yeah.
Right.
which is, we have to determine what is evil, right? It's like,
Yeah.
what is truly evil? Because I believe that those people that are doing that to other people are the ones that are actually evil. And they represent their version of God in the collective, but then independence and autonomy and being able to be yourself. And I mean, and right now, like, you as who you are don't feel even safe.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. They don't acknowledge that I'm divorced. They don't acknowledge that I've said no. They don't, like, none of that matters. Like, that's just,
It's mind-boggling, isn't
it's
it?
insane. It's
It is
mind-boggling. And
insane.
me leaving is me being evil. Like, when you said
Yes.
what do they want? Like, it doesn't matter what they want, because they're convincing me that there is never an acceptable reason to leave,
Right.
ever.
Right.
I am evil and I am wrong and I am misguided, and I am 100% always in the wrong for wanting to leave. There's never an appropriate reason to leave.
Tell me some of the, and it's outside of just that. Um, just we understand your church, and we understand that it is very much more structured and kind of cult like, right? Cultish. All of them are, as Bishop would say. But the thing is tell me about you in terms of the symptoms and the abuse, in the sense that, like, like how have you been in your deconstruction process in terms of, like, okay, this is what I'm doing to find my spiritual independence and
Oh,
autonomy.
it's so hard. It's such a process. Like, I think I'm doing well and then I'm not doing well. I was really triggered by my most recent thing was on here. I was realizing um, all the colonization that I did. And that was a really tough pill to
Mm,
swallow, because now I'm gonna get emotional about it, because
Oh,
um, so
colonization.
I was a missionary, and I feel like that was the time that I was brainwashed the most. And don't get me wrong, like, every person who wants to leave, it's a terrible experience. But if you are a Mormon missionary, that is the essence of taking you out of society. You can't listen to music. I was a missionary in 1999, 2000. So I didn't get to talk to my family for 2 years. I was in London in the south of England. I wrote letters. I got to talk to my family on Mother's Day and Christmas. I gave up. I had to wear a certain clothing. My every single second of my day was scheduled. I wasn't allowed to read anything. I mean, it was truly what you would consider, like, if someone went into a cult. It was the same thing for me. I had to memorize scriptures. I had to, all this stuff. And you know, in London, South London is very international, and I met someone from every single country. And always have to be with a companion. And my companions were from all over the world, and the sacrifices that we were asking people to make as Americans. The Americans knew better than everybody, and the American young boys knew better than everybody. This is kind of when my deconstruction started the most. Right before then, I had been going to college, and I was an international affairs major, and I had gone to school in Washington, D.C., and I had convinced the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees for me to do an internship as a sophomore undergrad. and I'd spent the semester in DC studying refugees, and it was like so exciting. And then I stopped. I paused my liberal arts education in Washington D.C., immersed in the UN, all this stuff. And then I got called on my mission to go to England, and now these 18-year-old boys from Utah were in charge of me, and they'd never flown and they'd never been out of the country. And I said, well, let's look at this population that's here. I mean, we have a lot of people from Central Africa and Ethiopia and Brazil and India and Pakistan. Let's look at the people that we're talking about when we go out and we have to give these recited speeches.
In other words, you're talking about unwhite people.
Unwhite people from all over the world. And, these 18-year-old boys are like, I'm not listening to you. You're a girl and you couldn't get married. So you went on a mission at 21. And we know what we're supposed to be doing. And I was like, we have people who are coming here because the pound is strong and there's a universal healthcare system. And you know what I mean? Like all of this implication of this, what was actually going on. And so all of a sudden I started to be like, what? And then the sacrifices that we asked these people to make, because maybe they were sending money back home and, they were coming from, it was 99, 2000. So there was, Middle East politics and refugees. And then we weren't allowed to help them anymore because there was political implications. But then we were asking the people who were brown and black to give up their lives and go to the United States and accept a scripture that literally said to being white is pure. And when they prayed and became pure, then their blackness went away. And I said, I made them get down on their knees and pray and keep praying until they got an answer that this book was from God.
And that their blackness goes away, basically. In that my thing is don't blame yourself. It's a system.
I understand that, but that makes me feel sick to my stomach. I hear what you're saying. I hear that. But that's when you talk about deconstructing, that's where I'm at. I do better and then I come on something else and then I do better because that's why it is such a cult. There's so many things with this. I can be good at wearing a tank top finally and picking my own clothes and, drinking coffee in the morning, and then something else comes up and then something else comes up, and I haven't been going to church for 5, maybe 6 years. And it's still this intense.
What I want people to witness and see, especially in the extreme level, you are a person that is going through it from extreme level within this organization. But I promise you, there are people all across the country that are experiencing some level of this. Earlier, I don't know if you've seen it, but that church is really smart with their recruiting and really smart with marketing and technology.
Psychological marketing.
No, they're spending millions of dollars, and they strategically have 19, let's say 18 to 20-year-old white females on Snapchat, and just talking to people in a general sense, are you feeling lost, or do you need some help, or are you just needing this? Well, Jesus Christ can really help you. And basically, this is Snapchat, so it's really designed for kids.
Wait, this is the new Mormon marketing thing right now. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, there's probably there can be literally 10 of these ads going back to back to back to back, right? And here's the thing, I promise you, as I've seen it, they're not the only ones that's doing it. These people are going after people and recruiting hard. So, and part of this, as we want to get ready to wrap up, but what I want people to witness and know is that, because a lot of people that watch this, they've probably been through a certain level of the journey, and they've come to a place where they have some level of understanding, and they've reached an age where it's you can leave me the hell alone, or I don't care, or I'm gonna go there and I'm still cool because I can go there and leave and still do what I want, kind of a deal. But there's still people out there experiencing, and I think this is the beginning where, as we deconstruct, also there will be a really strong push for what we have to do to get Jesus and to remain and have the Bible in schools and have the like they're they're gonna push hard. I think even they're doing it on TV with He Loves Us, and these commercials are good. And it's a national commercial, and it's coming out of Oklahoma. The Green family is doing these. They did a Super Bowl, like multi-billion-dollar ad that they're going social media. So the thing is I believe a lot of it has to do with the fact that it's a lot of things are being exposed, a lot of things are dying, and but within this community, I just wanted people to witness and see and listen to you and hear a part of your story, right? And of course, you and I can get together. I can't wait. We need to connect, right, tomorrow. And then, of course, John Thomas, who is a
Who
different,
I owe a phone call to, John. I haven't
yeah.
forgotten.
Well, and John keeps saying he's so like on fire right now, and what he wants to do is just like, oh my God, like, can we all just come to a place and at least come to a Zoom so we can actually see people and hear people?
What did I say? That's what I was encouraging you to do, is to open up a Zoom conference or some type, because I know people in the audience want to be a part of the conversation.
Yes. Well, I think Alyssa, like she had to hear, it's not easy to think indoctrination is a beast, because I know for a fact that people will experiencing, as they hear the stories, there's going to be some awakening moments where they're going to be like, wait.
Well, that's what happened to me. So I had started deconstructing. I was still going to church, and I started to watch Leah Remini's Scientology series that was a few years ago. What was that called?
Oh, yeah.
And as I started to watch it, I remember being blown away, because I was like, I had known that my church wasn't good and I wanted to leave. I knew that, but I was still going to church. And all of a sudden I started to watch this, and I thought, oh my gosh, that's the same concept, but a different set of words. That's the same concept, but a different set of words. That's the same concept, but I have gone through that. Like it was like, I'd always thought that her religion was a cult, but I didn't think that mine was. And all of a sudden it was like, oh, if it walks like a duck, if it talks like a duck, oh dear, I'm also in something that has caused just as much damage. Okay. And so I think that is really powerful when people start sharing those stories, because it totally changed my perspective of how to look at and leave my church, because it wasn't a church anymore. And it was because she told her story and other people told their story that I started to realize that I had a lot of the same experiences.
You really confirmed something too when we start talking decolonization, Miss Dorothy. Rose lives in Tulsa.
Okay.
But Rose is a part of you, like she's been a school teacher, right?
Yeah.
And swimming, but she's heavily involved now. She's heavily involved in probably like 80. Your school is probably what, 80% minority?
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Yeah.
It's probably 80% minority. She, you was getting involved with Black kids and swimming and things of that nature. So she's really in tuned or connected into this community, right? But the thing is like what she confirms is being someone that was on the other side of the space in terms of how churches are thinking and how they work in terms of decolonizing, right?
Yeah.
And I think what that happens too is like John Thomas was talking about, like, being white, how do I relate to decolonizing? I wasn't this, I wasn't that. The thing is like by understanding that itself, you can at least have a different perspective and understand that as Black people, they have a whole different process that they may have to add to their deconstructing process.
Right,
You
right,
know, is the
right.
fact that there's this, and the fact that in some churches it's pretty strategic that
Yeah.
we wanted to have people involved. We want to get more Black people involved. And now it's like we're kind of somewhat stuck because we love it so much. But
Right.
um, it's been really cool. I want to make sure
Well, I
I
want to say one thing for you,
yeah.
close out Malachi. Rosa, I know that your situation is a little more intricate than the average deconstructor or decolonizer or deconverter, because I do believe you're in the process of deconverting. I think you have gone through the deconstruction and the decolonizing. I think you're at a stage of deconverting, which is much more intense. And this is why I tell people, when you start this process, make sure you're healthy. Make sure that you're mentally strong, because that deconversion is going to mess with you psychologically. And when it does, it causes even more trauma, because you're struggling to come out of something that is a part of your identity now. And now you're losing that perspective of your identity, and you're losing that perspective where things may have brought you some degree of certainty or comfort. And now you're just out here and you're fighting the very system that brought those things into your life. And I think we're in a process of deconverting where you are. But I want to say this, I think it's very important for everybody to hear this, is that when you are going through a deconstruction, a decolonizing, or deconverting, make sure you're setting boundaries. Don't just do it and leave yourself vulnerable to more abuse, to more trauma. Find out the areas in your life that are weak and that are still vulnerable for these types of abuses to keep penetrating. So if we start to set boundaries and say, listen, this is how far you can go with me now. You had some liberation before, but now I'm setting some boundaries. And these boundaries are going to continue to protect you as you deconvert. Because if you don't set the boundaries, the process of deconversion is going to be even more psychologically damaging, because now you're fighting what's happening inside of you, and you're fighting a system that's coming after you. So I just want to encourage everybody to make sure you set boundaries. Don't just think that these processes are going to happen real easy and these people are not going to come after you. They are. And some of them may not come after us the way they're coming after Rose, but they may be coming after you and your family, telling you how bad you are because you left religion, a constant battering. It's almost like a whipping, an abusive experience, just because you decided that this is no longer what you wanted to control you. It's okay if they do it, but they don't want you to make that same type of individual decision. And so I just want to encourage everybody, please set some boundaries in your life. Please set some boundaries so that you can protect yourself.
So real quick, in terms of setting those boundaries,
yes,
as far as any kind of example, would it be setting the boundary, but also having something that you put in place? Like, I'm gonna set this particular boundary, but I'm gonna put this in place too as my process of going through, because that's one of the things whenever we look at spiritual. My thing was when we look at spiritual independence, because it's like it's one thing to go through these processes, but for me, when I start looking at my life coaching principles, right? When I start looking at like goal setting and where you're going, sometimes that can actually help tremendously. Like even with John was asking if you were taking the religious trauma certification or school. So I think, see, as a coach, what I would do so that you're not just like you're going through this process, but but what happens is you don't have a map to where you're going.
Absolutely. That's correct.
So what happens is, like, for instance, the Institute, is it the Institute for Religious something? I forgot what it's called. For religion and the thing that you're doing for religious trauma.
Oh, the Global Center for Religious Research. They have a class called Religious Trauma and Abuse. So if you go to the Global Center for Religious Research and go under their classroom certification, that's where the class is.
Yeah. So they have a certification that's like $299. But then they have, just if you want to do the class, is like $49. But the thing is like, what I'm gonna tell you from the coaching perspective, right? So if a person wanted to have a medical degree and they want to do surgeries, if you don't have your syllabus, then this, you're not going, it's going to be hard. So you can actually, part of that is, it is a brainwashing, you take an oath as a physician. Like that physician that quit his job as a physician, he was a neurosurgeon. He literally had to do a deconstructing process, and he feels crazy as hell because of the fact that it's like, I'm being paid. He's a neurosurgeon, so he's my MIT. So he's leaving a job that's probably paying him maybe $750,000 a year. And he's just going to just be like, okay, I can't do this, because he said, if I keep doing this, I'm going to die before 6.
Yes. And he started getting sick, Malachi, in his body. He gained weight. He said he was not eating. He couldn't sleep. So everybody is having these traumatic experiences, but I believe we're in that age where we're starting to awaken, and this stuff is coming to surface like a diamond. The hotter the fire, the more the scuff comes off the diamond. Nobody wants to go through it. I get it.
As you're going through it, the diamond, see, here's the thing, is the diamond has a reason it's going through it, though.
Yes.
Right.
Exactly.
So it's got the reason that the diamond's going through it is I have value.
Exactly.
So it's like, you have value, Rose.
Yes.
Like, I just seen, like, literally there's a commercial on Snapchat with about, and each one is different. So there was about 2 girls. There's 7 commercials. There's 14 girls that they're using, right? So the thing is like, as you need to have more of a goal of what you're going to do, and you have to output. You got to get this out of you, because if you keep this inside you and you don't have somewhere where you're outputting it, like, it's going to eat at you, and it's going to begin to make you sick. Your hair could fall out, right? Like, you can start getting physically ill because of the trauma that is locked into your body. But a lot of times what helps is the fact that you're going to say, I'm going to write a book, right? And I'm going to get this out because it's an output. I'm going to go through some certification so that I can be going through, talk therapy and all that it can help a little bit. But the thing is like, now you're just constantly talking about it. And it's not outputting and putting something into place that allows for you to release this, and then you're able to see it, right? So, like, whether it be religious trauma certification or schooling, whether it's write a book, whether it's talking about it and getting it out, because here's the thing. And I think the burden lies upon you because of the guilt, right? A lot of it is they're coming for you, but it's a lot of the guilt. Like, I did this to people, I did that to people, and they come in and like, and they can ride on you. And so the thing is what bothers a lot of people is something that is like what they should be working on, right? There's something that they should be doing. And I think that'll provide you a release. And because I see your videos, but the thing is I'm
gonna check them out.
But the thing is I'm gonna call you on here right now. It's just us. It's only 16, 17 people, right? You know what I mean? And probably like 80% of them are some Black people from all over the country. We here to love you, girl. You don't have to worry about no Mormons coming up on here.
It might be some listening trying to get out themselves.
Hey, hopefully they come to get out. But the thing is what I'm gonna tell you is I didn't got my own self distracted. Oh no, is the fact that being able to come out, right, and being able to actually say, you know what, I'm gonna tell everybody right now, I was in this church. And even to this day, these people are coming for me. Because guess what's gonna happen? Sooner or later, as you do that, they're going to want to distance themselves from you, right?
Yeah.
They want to distance themselves. And it's not that you have to do this, but there's a level of release that you are actually putting it out on paper, or you putting it out somewhere, you putting it out some kind of way, you putting this out. So you say, I'm releasing this, I'm releasing all the guilt, I'm releasing everything, and just saying, hey, even if it's not every day, all day, but it's just a moment where you can actually say, I'm hurting and I'm in pain.
Mm.
And it's because of this, right? Because I think a lot of that burden too is all the people right now that are trapped in these systems. And it's a consciousness, and it's collective consciousness. And that is going out there, right? And you're receiving even some of that pain, right? And they don't have a way out. And guess what? You have a lot to do with their way out.
Mm.
Absolutely.
You have a lot that's the reason why we do this right now on this show.
Yeah.
And trying to dedicate. Mrs. Dorothy had an experience, right? She was deeply in the church, and she was really, really, really like a part of it. But since leaving, she's got quite a few books, but you got one, How to Get Spiritually Unstuck.
Yes.
But that How to Get Spiritually Unstuck is not necessarily just like getting unstuck. That is like, here's my story.
My story. Yes.
About where I was.
Yeah.
And then here is the end results. Now, real quick, Miss Dorothy, didn't you you were in the midst of your process?
I was in the midst of deconstructing. And I want to say this, I almost lost my mind. Not just lost my mind, but I physically got sick. And for about 5 years, I couldn't drive myself. I could barely get out of the bed. I was in and out of the hospital, could not regulate my blood pressure. They thought I had these deadly diseases. I wind up having brain surgery because I lost feeling in my face. And I'm telling you, it's important that when you're coming out, that you take care of yourself. Make sure that you're okay. Do whatever you have to do. If it's writing, if it's therapy, if it's taking a walk, if it's changing your phone number, you have to do whatever you need to do. I mean, I went through therapists. I almost turned myself into a psychiatric institution because I thought I was losing my mind. And on top of that, I had to deal with the isolation and rejection of my family because I was no longer in the church. I had to deal with the pain of that. I had to constantly defend myself because there was no one to defend me, no one who understood where I was. I walked this journey alone for about 5 to 10 years, alone. And I'm telling you, there were some dark days. There were some dark days. There were some really pitch black nights. There was some crying. There was some doubts. I doubted myself. I beat myself up and said, God, did I do the right thing? I felt like I had lost touch with God because I was like, how am I going to know God? Because I only know him through this religion. What is God outside of what I've been told? I struggled. My brain stopped working. I literally had to go on medicine just to keep myself. I started having anxiety attacks, really bad anxiety attack. Listen, it got so bad I couldn't speak. I had problems with my speech. I was in and out of the hospital where my mouth and all this was just locked, almost nearly paralyzed to the point where I couldn't talk. I was stuttering. I was shaking. I had mood disorders like shaking and couldn't control my own body. This is how bad this deconstruction had affected me, because there was no reason I should have gone through that. There was no medical reason, but it wound up being medical reasons after I was going through, because of how bad it was. And that doesn't even get into the real depth of where I went. I can't explain to people how dark it is, because the deeper you're in something, the further you got to dig down to come out of it. You know what I'm saying? Because you're covered in it. And so I've been through this, and I'm telling you, one of the keys that I found to be so significant is understanding self-care. If you don't care for yourself, you are not open to anybody else caring for you. I had to care for myself. I had to love myself. I had to continue to love other people in spite of myself. So this is a process that is not easy. That's why I was saying earlier, Malachi, I know it's a fad now. Everybody's deconstructing. Everybody's saying it. But this is deeper than just coming on social media and say, yeah, I'm destructing too. Let me join the group. It's people like you and I, Rose, that are having these deep deconstructive moments that people need to hear about. They need to see what is happening and why this is so effective in helping us come out of these lost, deep, dark places of religion. And this is what I'm after. I don't care if you go to church. I'm after saving people like you, like me, like Malachi, like all of us that have been through some serious deconstruction. Not just because you got mad at the pastor.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? This is not about that you got mad at the pastor.
Right. Yeah.
Or the church leadership screamed at you.
Yeah.
Somebody robbed you. This is on the same level of being sexually abused. This is on the same level of being physically abused. It's on the same level as somebody putting you in prison and locking you up and taking away your rights. It's on these same levels. And so I encourage you on this as another part of this wheel, Malachi, the religious abuse support and care. And it tells people how to support themselves through community support groups, therapy, advocacy, self-care, and education. You have got to make sure that you are about you, Rose. It's all about you now.
Yes, absolutely. And if you're free, I'll get in touch with you. If you're free tomorrow, I'll get with John Thomas, because I guarantee you we got some resources and some books.
That's
and
right.
then I need to be able to give you some protocols, right? Because the thing is as we're going through this, there's things that we can do to help us speed up this process. Like
Yeah.
literally there's some things, some people may need it, like everything from, we talked a little bit about it, where you have plant-based medicine, ketamine, you have all these different things, but then you also have, like, if a person's doing meditation, and where is that? Is it what's the intensity of it? Because
Right.
just being like, oh yeah, I do it, but no, not if it's like, okay, there's a space. I did my 15 minutes today. What was the focus? What did you do it on? What was this process? Because this is no longer that I'm trying to meditate just to say I'm doing it.
Yeah.
This is a release of a trauma in your body, and you're trying to, in this meditation, you're trying to rewire, right, the brain. What you want to rewire, and you're trying to release certain traumas, right? So, I mean, because I think you probably should be almost like a protocol that you're doing this maybe 2 to 3 times a day, right? With a specific goal in mind, right? And that's whether it be self-healing, surrendering, right? And each individual one is designed, because I promise you, after about a week of the consistency, right? Taking care of yourself, water, plant-based if you can. Like literally, this is a moment that you are under a release and a surrender, right? And because what happens is you'll end up having what we call as enlightenment experiences, right? I know it's painful right now.
Yes.
I know it's painful right now, but as deep as this pain is, has a lot to do with where it's going, right? Where the unfolding, right,
Yeah.
Instead of just getting people coming to your door talking about this, people are coming to your door talking about, I need you.
Mm-hmm.
I will pay you to help me get through this. I want you to come on this TV show. I want you to do, you're going to get these people that says you have the best thing that can, I promise you, can ever happen is they say, you saved my life.
Yes.
Because there's going to be some people that will say, I was going to commit suicide. I was going to, right? But it was the fact that I heard your story. It's the fact that what you went through, because you're going through it at this particular level, but I think there's all kinds of people, right?
Yeah.
And then your openness to actually talk about the fact that you talk about just decolonizing, but you're saying, like, I can literally tell you that I was colonizing people to this day because of what the framework that they gave you. This is a framework. You got to get these people to do this, right? And so there's more than hope.
Yes.
This is beyond hope.
Yes.
This is a divine calling upon your life.
Yes.
I know it's painful, but I promise you, after this day, it wasn't just to call you up on the stage like this and you to get to meet Miss Dorothy, right? Right. So everybody that's tapped in, tuned in right now, we believe in the frequency, right? A lot of times when we talked about prayer, it was a very external thing in terms of like, I just want to pray out. But a lot of times would be prayer is more of accepting for what is already finished, what is already done in our lives, right? I'm just in agreement to say, thank you for this moment in this time, right? And thank you for the freedom that is here.
Yeah.
It's here, right?
Yeah.
The peace that is here right now, right? That can actually overtake you in this moment, right? Your heart, no matter what, your heart is pure.
Right. Exactly.
Your heart still has your heart has something that your brain and body has experienced, but the love, right, is still there. You know, there's just a lot of guilt and shame, right? But please promise me that you'll take one moment. The feeling is the secret. So, in other words, how I want to feel, sometimes you have to act that way. Sometimes you have to be like, you know how they talk about faking a smile and faking laughter?
Take it till you make it.
Some of that you have to just for moments, you want to have clarity and say, you know what?
Yeah.
For 15 minutes, as my brain's going to go away and try to go thing, but then I'm going to go back and I'm going to focus on just my breath for 15 minutes. Just 15 minutes, right? And so as we come to a close for this evening, I just want everyone to share in your heart, right? And love on yourself as we send this love energy to Rose for this evening. Like, I want this evening to be a moment that we all come together, who's all here. And I want to send all love energy to Rose as she finds clarity, freedom. As we do breath is spirit in Sanskrit. And as you take deep breaths and you bring it in, it's an energy. And we pull in that energy up and we slowly release it, taking slow breaths, releasing this energy of love for Rose, but also do it for yourself. As you heal and help yourself, you also are helping others. This is why we are here, folks. 60 seconds. Sometime if you feel any form of pain or you feel something that's bothering you, you can focus on that. And then you just have the feeling of releasing it. And another thing you can do is you can practice feeling like you're breathing from the heart, taking breaths into the heart and releasing. I thank you for this moment and these people that are here. I'm grateful and thankful for the leading. Thank you for Miss Dorothy. Thank you for Rose. Thank you for everyone that is able to listen to this and hear. And for anyone that's going through anything at this moment, I call peace, love, joy. We breathe into it and we release it. If there's anything you would like to say, Miss Dorothy, please.
Just know that everything that you're feeling is coming out of you. Everything that you need comes out of you. The peace, the calm, the love, the joy, it all comes out of you. And the more you release it, the more powerful you'll feel. That's what I'm hearing. Yeah.
How about you, Rose? Anything you'd like to say?
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Thank you, Malachi.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you is a feeling of gratitude.
Yes.
Gratitude is the key to everything.
Yes.
As you're going through this pain, accept it.
Yes.
And you know what I want you to do? I want you to tell that church, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm going to just tell it, thank you. Every time they come up to your door, tell them thank you because I'm done with you. Thank you. Thank you for this lesson. Thank you for this understanding.
Yeah.
The minute that you can actually accept them and their pain,
Right. Right.
right? You can release them. No longer they're not a threat and you're not fighting them.
Yes.
I want you to transfer that energy. Every time you think of that church, I want you to get excited for your future.
Exactly.
Every time you think of that church and they knock on your door, you say, welcome.
Exactly.
You say, welcome to my home. I'm so glad you are here.
Make them want what you have. Yes.
Because I know that you might be in pain one day. And you have no idea. But where I'm at and what I have is the peace that passes all understanding.
Yes.
The joy of the Lord, of myself, governing myself, showing my arms, having my coffee. The next time they come in, you need to say, welcome. Would you like a cup of coffee? You know the game. You know the game.
Yeah. Yeah.
Miss Rose, you have a calling on your life to set a lot of those people free.
Yes.
But you first have to accept. You have to accept the experience, not that you agree with it, right?
Right.
She was talking about being physically abused, how this relates. Do you know this could be worse than physical abuse?
Yes, absolutely.
You know why? Because physical abuse causes a pain that is noticeable,
Mhm.
right? So whenever a person hits you, it swells up, right?
Right.
If a
Mhm.
person rapes
Right.
you, you have a condition that is physical.
Mhm.
Right.
Brain, a conscious issue,
Yes, yes, mental,
it's
yes.
in the psyche.
Yeah.
So how do you fix a behavioral issue or a psychological issue? It will drive you insane. So
Yeah.
I promise you, one of the things that spirit, and I begin to feel in my spirit, and instantly see it on your face, the freedom that you can have is by accepting it. Because guess what?
Mhm.
They can't hurt you more than they hurt you.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Right, right.
They're just running the program. They're running the program. And you know what's getting you? What's getting you is the fact that they're running the program and they're using tools
Mm.
to get into your psyche to say, I'm going to use these little codes. I'm just going to say, they do it to the church. Jesus. Politically, they do it. Jesus, God, Bible. And you can't say nothing wrong. And you know what? We have to be like, yeah, he's right. He said Bible. We can't say anything. Yeah. So the thing is
The canopy I was talking about.
just begin to come into an acceptance of your life, acceptance of your experience. Begin to thank it. Thank you for this experience. I'm here. I'm walking. My kids are good. Oh, you idiot! You don't even know my first. I got a divorce a long time ago, right?
Right. 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 Yeah.
Agree with them. Oh, next time they come by, tell them. You know what? You guys got my name wrong in the database. If you need here, might of fact, I want me to write down what you need to know about me.
Yeah.
Because what you probably want to know too is I'm an activist in basically getting
Yeah.
people, like you girls, I'm an activist in getting you and helping you
Right.
become free.
Yeah.
You may not feel like you need to be free now,
Mm-hmm.
but I might save your life,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
As you come into an acceptance of your life and come into this acceptance of your fate,
Mm.
I believe all of a sudden that is another way of just being able to release. And we're getting into some metaphysics, right? We're getting
Yeah.
into frequency and vibration, right? We're going
Yeah.
to change your frequency and vibration, right?
Yeah.
This was beautiful. Thank you guys for this. And I know that the comments probably were wild, right? So we're going to end this party on an up note.
Yes. Let me just say this to Rose. Rose, we are pioneers in this.
Yes.
We're pioneers, and because we're pioneers, we're going through it the worst.
Mm.
Because we're preparing ourselves for those that we're going to have to take their hand and walk into these same processes. Every person that's coming to your door is a candidate for deconstruction.
Yeah.
And so you're going through it for them.
Mm.
They don't know it, but you're a pioneer. We're all pioneers, and we're pioneers. We're going to be there to help gird up people as they're coming out, because they're going to come out in droves very soon. I believe within the next 5 years, we're going to see people coming out in droves, and they're going to need us. So
you know what a
you got
pioneer
to stay
is?
strong, Rose. You got to stay strong, Rose. Rose. I keep hearing Rose from what was the movie with the ship? Rose.
Titanic.
Yes. But yeah, we're pioneers. We're pioneers.
Well, I really appreciate you saying that, because Mormons are really into pioneers. And in fact, they shut down the state of Utah on July 24th. And I saw it coming up and I felt triggered. And you just changed that narrative for me completely. You just flipped that for me. So I really appreciate that. So, because I was like, oh, Pioneer Day again, because it's just entrenched in Mormons' brains. And
yeah.
But guess what?
I am.
You are a pioneer, though, in the sense that it's not just gonna happen with you,
Exactly. There's
right?
many.
This is gonna happen with a lot. But the thing about a pioneer is the fact that they have the beginning stages of what this is. Like
Right.
leaving is one thing. How to
Mhm.
leave is another.
Right.
Mhm.
How to overcome what you just experienced is
How to
Mhm.
rebuild once you've left? Where do you rebuild? What do you rebuild? Where do you go? What do you do? Yeah.
That's the reconstruction after
Right.
the deconstruction.
Right.
right. And what are
Exactly.
you reconstructing? And it's more of like
Right.
reconstructing who you are in yourself. And one of the things I'll tell you, they provide you with so much discipline and such a system. If you can apply their methodology into other factors of your life,
Yeah.
all of a sudden it's like, I promise you, that's why I'm telling you, start thanking them,
Yes.
because you're going to be able to extract and pull something, right, and
Yeah.
use it.
Yeah.
Use it for good for your life.
Yeah.
We
And
have
you
here,
can write your
look at there.
step. Write what you're going through, because those are going to be very important steps for people that are come behind you. So you should be writing the steps that you're taking to go through this, not for you.
Mm-hmm. Right.
They're
Right.
come after you because they're going to
Right.
need to know the path. So yeah.
There you go.
Oh, thank
Miss
you,
Gwen.
Gwendolyn. Wow. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank
Alyssa.
you, Alyssa. Thank you.
Alyssa. Yes. Miss Velma.
Hi, Miss Velma. I need to meet you. Didn't you say she was in Atlantic City? Is she the one that's in Atlantic City, New Jersey? No.
She might have to. No. There is a person. I don't think she doesn't comment.
Hi, Christopher. Thank you.
Christopher, thank you so much. You are truly awesome. I think that's pretty much it. Hey, if any, I see there's at least 15 more people or so on there. Hey, make sure y'all Miss Claudie.
Hey, Claudie. We talk all the time on social media.
Yes, Miss Claudie. Oh, look, she said there.
Oh, there you go, Rose.
Look, see all the hell you've been through, and they might not have been through that much. They like, oh God, I'm glad. Oh, I'm so glad. I'm messing with you.
Malachi, I wanted to offer people the PowerPoints and the charts.
Okay.
So how can we get that to them?
Is that on your website?
The website?
Is it downloadable on yours?
Yes, I'm going to put it up tonight. But right now, I want to let everybody know if they go to the website now, they can get this book, which is
all right. Here, type it up.
Go to pathways-to-deconstruction.com.
All right.
And if you put in your email and join the newsletter, I'm going to send you this ebook. It's called The Burden of the Sacred, Deconstructing the Sacred Canopy.
So
Pathways, all about what we talked about tonight. Pathways-to-deconstruction.com. Pathways-to-religiousdeconstruction.com. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I'll also have these PowerPoints and these charts, because I saw somebody in the comments said that they wanted the pie charts. So.
All right. There. Let's see what that does. Pathways
to
religiousdeconstruction.com.
That's it.
Pathways. The goal that I have for this community is for us to work together, right? Like, it's not about me.
Yeah.
It's about us.
Yeah.
Because I know that it's a world, and the world is full of people.
Yeah.
And so therefore it's about all of us being able to come together, and the community is small enough now where we can really, really become powerful amongst each other.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so there it is again, pathways to religious deconstructing.com. And so awesome.
Yeah. Thank you, Rose. So glad to meet you. Malachi done told me so much about you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. Coach,
Thank you.
you know,
Thank you.
sir. I love you. You're my heart, man.
We'll probably chat again tomorrow.
Absolutely. Acting like we ain't gonna see or talk to each other.
All right.
But,
Well,
all right,
I'm gonna shut
dog.
this down and
Okay.
we will be back next week.
There you go, bro.
All right. Bye-bye, guys.
Bye-bye.